Bonjour. Wasta isi gelin disne kasni. Zgamo knishna be king is nikalek ni don't jwa. Migesen do them. Ni siguna dan ki talk nang gumay go na. Ontario Indian Residential School Support Services is nikalek. Ni siu kung ina ki gimang gi aus gamo gi dole ne gego. Kinashgo memitishi kan sumanda ni nishna be ni jindwilan. Ni bilant sabu. Hello, my name is, English name is Harvey Trudeau. I'm from the Sagamok First Nation. I'm with the Ontario Indian Residential School Support Services currently, but I used to be involved in Aboriginal politics. I was the chief of my First Nations for a number of years, councillor, and I've been involved in many of the issues related to matters of concern for us as Anishinaabe people. And one of those concerns is the issues of social issues within our First Nations. So, and one of those issues is alcohol and drug abuse, and then there's also issues related to trauma and the post-traumatic stress created by different environments that our people involved in, such as policing, firefighters, and the like. Excuse me. So, for many years, the Aboriginal arena, I guess, the Aboriginal arena has been talking about these issues that affect our people. Many of those are alcohol related, and those then what effect it has on our people. It's caused a lot of negative effects on it, and is related to alcohol consumption and opioid abuse. As related to the those conditions that are our First Nations people's experience are as a result of ingesting something physically into their body, and it has negative effects on them and causes certain conditions, and they become addicted and such. And the leadership of our communities and the programs have dealt with those in various ways. And one of the main ways is to remove the substance from the body through detox treatment centers. They do have treatment centers, and after that they have some aftercare facilities. But that particular scenario, the conditions that are created within our people is because they've ingested something physical into their bodies, and it affects them in a negative way. And they have treatments for that, and we're somewhat successful in dealing with it. Now there's another situation that we have become aware of, and that's the condition of trauma that the Ontario Indian Residential School people that we deal with experience in the residential school, and that's trauma from abuse that they've experienced at the schools, and there's also PTSD experienced by our firefighters, our police forces, because of conditions in which they work. So, and that trauma is somewhat different from the trauma and social conditions of the ingestion of the different types of intoxicants and opioids. So the first condition is dealt with in the way that I spoke of earlier, but as I said earlier, the leadership has spoke to some extent about how we should deal with the trauma, and there's an initiative that has been undertaken by the Ontario Indian Residential School Support Services for the establishment of it could be called a treatment center or facility to help our people that are suffering the PTSD and trauma related to their experience at the residential school, or negative experience as related to firefighting and some of the experiences involved in police services situations. So we've taken it to a point so far where we have a facility, a drawing of a facility that what it may look like, and we're working and activities are being undertaken on what type of programs we will have there, and and I'm going to turn that over to the good doctor to expand on how far we've taken the studies that we've undertaken, and maybe explain a little bit about show some pictures of the facility itself. Chimigwich.
Anin, bonjour. Teresa Disnikaz. My English name is Dr. Teresa Trammell. My First Nation is Mishpachatan First Nation. And I don't know if you wanted to show the map of the Trauma Center / Healing Lodge is located in the Robinson-Huron Treaty area. And I also have a diagram. We contacted Douglas Cardinal, and he put together a number of drawings for what the Healing Lodge could look like. We have a whole series of the first floor and second floor. We hope to assist individuals with their families at the lodge. So one of the first activities that I was asked to undertake is to begin a consultation process. So we actually sent a letter to the chiefs of the First Nations in the area, plus 2 other organizations, to let them know, to make them aware of what we were doing. And we asked for letters of support from the First Nations. And we have a number of verbal affirmations that we will be receiving letters of support, which strengthens our proposal. It's a huge undertaking for our people. We know that through a feasibility study that it is badly needed, and we hope to assist not only survivors of the residential schools, but also day schools, the intergenerational trauma that's affected 2nd and 3rd generation of survivors of these schools, as well as the 60 scoop, and families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. So I don't know what else you wanted me to say. I've done research. There are layers of trauma, as we know, and through those different layers, we hope to be able to work through those layers of trauma when our ancestors, traditional practitioners, traditional teachers tell us that when we're out of balance, our emotional, psychological, physical, spiritual, these 4 quadrants, we're made up of these 4 quadrants. And once those quadrants are unbalanced, we have to work to get back to that balance, to recovery. And that's what we hope to do for the individuals that come to the Healing Lodge for healing.
Very good.
Miigwech.
Anin, watchie, my kakashi just nakasan. My kesho sahigan. I speak a mixture of Cree, English, and Anishinaabe, so to cover all 3 bases. But I'm happy to be here with this very exciting proposal that we're trying to put together right here. This has been in the works for some 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years. And it was a concept that, from a dream that my daughter had when we were talking about residential school survivors and their families. Over the years, I've done my own research in that, and I always revert back to what we did as Anishinaabe people when it came to healing and working with the ailments and whatever in our society with our people. When I was a young boy, I remember the soldiers coming back from the war. We had two in our community, and they had what it was. They called that shell shock back then, and I remember the old people talking in my language, Cree, and basically they were saying that those boys' spirits had been damaged. That's what was wrong with them, and that's why they couldn't be fixed by or helped with the standard medical. And for years that stayed with me. Then I got it evolved to PTSD, trauma, and all the other different ailments associated with that. And I got thinking about my experience in residential school and how that played out. So after years and years and years of looking at this and talking, particularly with our medicine people, and we've come now to the point where when someone comes in contemporary medicine, they do an assessment. They come up with a prognosis. They write out a prescription and they medicate. The one element that they don't do that was contrary to what we did as Anishinaabe people was when anyone came to us before to a healer or to a medicine person, Mishkiki, the first thing they would do would be ceremony. And that's missing in the way we treat our emotional and trauma and all that. That's that missing element of bringing our people back and working with the spiritual aspects of their being, which makes us who we are. So having said that and looking back across the country and again in my own research and finding there's nothing there, and when we talk about spirituality, who we are as Anishinaabe people, we always run into a wall that you get these blank stares back from these contemporary medical people or healers. They can't understand that. But we as Anishinaabe people, we understand that. So, and that's going to be the structure on how we deal with this trauma center as it develops. We're also looking at it as being cross-cultural, because in this day and time we can't just say, well, our people are suffering from trauma, because a lot of that trauma is brought on because of colonialism. And colonialism in itself, since the time of the treaties, has been a big contributor to trauma within our communities, and it's so much so now it's become a way of life for us for many of us to deal with colonialism. So all these things are going to have to be sorted out as we go together. We've got contemporary, and from the medicine people, or the contemporary medicine from the dominant society, we have psychiatrists and psychologists. Well, on the Anishinaabe side, we have our own elders and our own spiritual people and our medicine people that will serve as the core and the foundation on how we put this together. We're also going to have an advisory board primarily made up of Anishinaabe people and other professional people. We're going to deal with with Anishinaabe Police Services and Anishinaabe ASCII Police Services, Treaty 3 Police Services, and EMS people, the different fire departments, and other people suffering from trauma. So we're excited, and I think if we can get your support and behind us, I think it's going to be well needed and well received by our people. And the other thing is where it's situated is right on the border between Treaty 9 and Robinson Superior. And our partner on this is Sagama. It's an extension partnership. But what we're going to do is, if time that down the road that the center in itself has to cease operations, it will be transferred back over to the Sagama community. So
You said Superior.
It's Robinson Huron.
Robinson Huron, pardon me, Robinson Huron. Freudian slip in contemporary terms.
Well, he said he could edit it, so.
Anyway, and I think really this is a void, and I think how we structure it, and again, before we do anything, the advisory board is going to be made up of, like I said, based upon a lot of our own professional people, but our traditional people who go back, and they're the ones that are actually going to come up with the programs and how we deliver our services. You know, the whole aspect of having sweats. Going back to that, we're going to use animal therapy, like with horses and other animals up there. We're going to use the land, you know, and I think I'm excited over this. It all came back from a dream of my daughter's, and we've been working at this for years. And I think down the road, once we get this thing up and running, we'll begin seeing some real positive results in our community, particularly what Harvey was talking about here, about that those strange things entering our bodies, and that's all new to us as Anishinaabe people. And our young people are lost. And, you know, it's up to us to go back, and we can't go back and look at our colonial masters for them to address this issue, because they were a contributing factor to why we have this issue right now that we're dealing with. So as Anishinaabe people, and you know, people who they're the Haudenosaunee people, we're all partners in this, and we're going to develop this lodge, and we'll keep you as informed as we move along the line. Miigwech. Bamabi.
So is there anything, any kind of a message you could deliver as far as, I mean, we want support.
Yeah.
What can people do to support?
We need we're looking for your support, and what we need is BCRs or letters of support from the councils to send it to our address that we sent the consultation letters to. We need them, and as we move to, and what we want to do, we want to purchase the property outright. We don't want to go back under a lease or an LUP or anything like that. And like I said, again, there will be a caveat in there. If at any given time we cease to be who we are, the land will revert back to the Sagamok First Nation, into whose traditional territory we are at this time. Okay? Be much.